Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why some people earn in a single month what others struggle to earn in an entire year? What makes that kind of transformation possible, not just theoretically, but practically and tangibly? Because let's be honest, we've all heard stories about people who made radical shifts in their income. But hearing isn't the same as understanding, and understanding still isn't the same as the truth is, the gap between where you are and where you want to be financially isn't measured in time. It's measured in awareness. Bob Proctor used to say, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. But let's unpack what that really means. Because that statement isn't just a motivational quote, it's a scientific truth when applied correctly. It's about aligning your internal blueprint with external results. At the core of this transformation is a universal principle that most people overlook, the law of compensation. Now, most people have never even heard of it. Others confuse it with some vague karmic belief system. But the law of compensation, as explained by thinkers like Ralph Waldo Emerson and expanded upon by Bob Proctor, is precise. It states that you are compensated in direct proportion to three things: the need for what you do, your ability to do it, the difficulty in replacing you. That's it. No exceptions. No loopholes. So if you're serious about turning your yearly income into your monthly income, you have to stop thinking like a consumer of money and start thinking like a creator of value. Because income is not random, it is a direct byproduct of the value you create in the marketplace. But here's the catch. Most people spend 90% of their time focused on the first variable, the need for what they do. They look for hot industries, high demand careers, trendy business models, but they neglect the second and third factors. And that's where the real leverage lies. Bob Proctor explained this beautifully when he said, most people are extras in their own movie. They wait for someone else to write the script. If you're not intentionally mastering your craft, expanding your capabilities, and becoming irreplaceable, you're just hoping the economy will be kind to you. That's not a strategy. That's a gamble. So let's get real. How do you begin to rewire your life, your business, your work ethic, and your self-image to become the kind of person who commands exponential income? It starts with a shift from doing work to becoming valuable. This isn't about working harder. This is about working on yourself until the work you produce is magnetic, rare, and impossible to ignore. The law of compensation isn't based on hours worked. It's based on the impact you generate. Think about that. We've been conditioned to trade time for money. That conditioning is deep. School systems reward compliance and consistency. Workplaces reinforce the idea that promotions are time-bound. But the wealthiest people in the world shattered that idea completely. What they understood is that money is attracted to value, not time. Let that sink in. If you want to earn in a month what you used to earn in a year, you must begin by increasing your perceived and actual value in the eyes of the marketplace. That means mastering a skill, solving a painful problem, telling a story so powerful that people trust you, believe in you, and want to be near you. You are not paid by the hour. You are paid for the value you bring to the hour. Bob Proctor once said, "Success requires no explanation. Failure permits no alibi." What he meant is that once you become the kind of person who naturally earns more, your results will speak for themselves. But until then, most people hide behind excuses. They say things like, I wasn't born into the right family. I don't have the right education. I don't have the connections. But none of those excuses stand up to the law of compensation, because this law doesn't care about your past. It only responds to your present level of value. And the best news is you can change that value at any time, starting right now. The path to massive income growth isn't a mystery. It's a formula. And that formula begins with a decision. A decision to stop being average. A decision to stop tolerating a financial ceiling. A decision to stop seeing yourself as limited by your past. Instead, start asking higher quality questions. Not how do I make more money, but what specific problem am I uniquely positioned to solve? How can I master this problem so well that people trust me instantly? How can I show up so powerfully that replacing me becomes nearly impossible? Because that's the game. If you become irreplaceable, your income becomes unlimited. Bob Proctor often spoke about paradigms, those deeply ingrained mental programs that control our behavior. He'd say, you were programmed to live the way you're living. You can reprogram yourself to live a better way. That's not just motivational fluff. That's psychological strategy. If you don't like your current income level, don't chase more gigs or more hours. Change your paradigm. You have to step into a new self-confidence. You have to literally become the person who naturally creates higher levels of income. And that identity shift starts internally, not externally. It's not about waiting for permission. It's about giving yourself permission to be powerful. So here's the challenge. Can you go the next 30 days without thinking like the person you've been? Can you start thinking, behaving, learning, and showing up like the person who earns 10 times what you earn now? Because if you can do it for 30 days, your brain starts rewiring itself. New neural pathways form. You start believing it's possible. And once belief clicks into place, action follows effortlessly. But it has to start with you. It's not the economy. It's not the market. It's not your resume. It's your awareness of how valuable you are and your willingness to increase that value daily. Bob Proctor taught, don't let your present results control your thinking. Let your thinking control your results. That's the pivot. That's the shift. So now the question becomes, what are you going to do with this awareness? When you begin to truly understand the law of compensation, something inside you shifts. You stop seeing income as a reward for effort, and you start seeing it as a reflection of identity. And that's not just a nice concept, it's a radical departure from how most of society operates. The moment you detach from the outdated formula of timeformity, you enter a new arena, the realm of leverage. And leverage, not labor, is what makes extraordinary wealth possible. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Your income today is a mirror of your self-image. Bob Proctor taught that our self-image sets the boundaries of our success. It doesn't matter how much you learn or how many opportunities come your way if you don't see yourself as someone worthy of high income. You will sabotage every chance you get to break through, let that land. You are not just fighting market conditions or job competition. You are fighting the inner thermostat that keeps your income fixed at a certain level. And until you raise that internal temperature, nothing outside will change. Most people try to grow their income by focusing on tactics, new jobs, side hustles, online businesses, and yes, those can work, but not if you carry the same old mindset into every new attempt. That's why two people can enter the same opportunity, and one thrives while the other stalls. It's not luck. It's internal alignment. The law of compensation is neutral. It responds to who you are, not what you want. Bob Proctor once said, you can't outperform yourself, but the good news is you can change it. That's where your power lies. So ask yourself, who are you becoming? This isn't about pretending. It's about aligning your beliefs, your actions, and your standards with the level of income you desire. That's the inner work, the quiet recalibration of your entire identity. And it requires absolute honesty. Are you showing up as someone who solves valuable problems? Are you positioning yourself as irreplaceable in your field or market? Are you stretching your capacity, studying relentlessly, mastering your emotions, refining your message? Or are you hiding behind comfort, procrastination, and good enough? Because the law of compensation is not sentimental. It compensates you exactly in proportion to the value you demonstrate, not once, not occasionally, but as your default mode of being. This is where most people give up. They say they want more income, but they don't want to become more, and that's the block. You can't skip the becoming. Income is the effect, not the cause. You must upgrade the cause to transform the result. Now, let's talk about the marketplace for a moment. It's not static. It's alive, dynamic, constantly shifting. And the one thing it never stops doing is scanning for value. It's asking every day, who here is bringing something rare, urgent, and meaningful? And you have to be able to answer that question with clarity and conviction. So here's a deeper layer. Turning your yearly income into your monthly income doesn't happen by pushing harder. It happens by positioning smarter. That means identifying your unique genius, the intersection of what you're passionate about, what you're skilled at, and what solves a pressing problem for others. Bob Proctor often quoted Napoleon Hill saying, "The man who does more than he is paid for will soon be paid for more than he does." That's not about working overtime. It's about over-delivering in value, in intention, in presence. So if you're wondering where to start here. What do you know, do, or see differently from others? What do people consistently come to you for advice on? What problem could you dedicate your life to solving? Because when you identify that and then commit to becoming world-class at activate the second and third parts of the law of compensation, your ability to do it, and the difficulty in replacing you. And that's where exponential income begins. Not in the job title, not in the brand, not in the algorithm, but in your obsession with mastering the thing that only you can bring to the table. Let's go even deeper. The shift from yearly income to monthly income requires not just inner work and skill, but also systems. This is the part many spiritually minded individuals overlook. They do the mindset work, they raise their vibration, they visualize abundance, but they forget that money flows best through systems. If you want consistent, scalable income, you must create a structure that allows value to flow efficiently to the people who need it most. That could mean a business model with repeatable offers, a product that solves a real pain point, a personal brand that builds trust and connection at scale, a network that multiplies opportunities without you chasing them. You see, income doesn't scale linearly. Once you've aligned your self-image, mastered your unique skill, and positioned yourself effectively in the marketplace, the next step is to build a machine that moves with or without you. Because here's the goal: income detached from labor, but never detached from value. Bob Proctor was relentless about this. The amount of money you earn is in direct ratio to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty in replacing you, period. So, reverse engineer your income goal. Want to earn $120,000 a month instead of $120,000 a year. Then ask, what can I offer that's worth $120,000 in value to the right people, repeatedly through a system? That question is a portal. It moves you from vague ambition to precise intention. And that's what changes everything. Because once you get serious about that question, you stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like a creator. You stop counting hours and start counting outcomes. It's not about how many hours did I work this week. It's about how much transformation did I cause this week. That's the metric that matters. So the next time you catch yourself thinking in old paradigms like hoping for a raise, waiting for a promotion, or dreading Monday morning. And remember, you are not here to be a cog in someone else's machine. You are here to design your own. If you truly want to experience a shift where your annual income becomes your monthly income, you have to understand this. People don't pay for effort, they pay for clarity, certainty, and transformation. That means your greatest asset is not just what you do, but how powerfully and confidently you communicate what you do. Bob Proctor used to say, money will make you more of what you already are. If you're not a generous person, you won't become generous with money. But if you're driven by purpose, money will expand that purpose. This principle reveals a key truth. Money is an amplifier, not a creator. It doesn't make you someone new, it multiplies who you already are. And that means if you want to experience a massive increase in income, you first need to elevate the version of yourself that the world is interacting with. So let's go to the next layer. Turning your yearly income into your monthly income is not a fantasy. It's a byproduct of three things working in synergy: energetic alignment, strategic positioning, relentless personal growth. Let's begin with energetic alignment. Everything in your life is a reflection of what you believe you deserve. You cannot receive beyond the level of your energetic self. This is why some people keep pushing harder and harder, and yet nothing seems to move. Because deep down, they still carry subconscious beliefs, like, I don't deserve that kind of wealth. If I make too much, people will resent me. I'm not qualified enough. I wouldn't know what to do with that much money. These thoughts operate quietly under the surface, but they govern everything. Bob Proctor was a master at revealing these inner blockages. He'd often remind his audience, you were born rich. It's the programming that convinced you otherwise. So here's your invitation. What inner stories are limiting your financial ceiling? Who told you that wealth had to be slow, hard, or only for certain people? And are you willing to release that version of reality? Because until you upgrade your beliefs, no strategy will stick. You'll learn, try, launch, hustle, and somehow end up right back where you started. The law of compensation will always match your true internal state, not your wishful thinking. Now, let's move to strategic positioning. This is about how you show up in the world. Most people make the mistake of trying to compete on price or convenience. But in a world of infinite choices, you don't win by being cheaper, you win by being different. Different is powerful. Different gets remembered. Different can't be ignored. And when you bring that uniqueness into your brand, your work, your presence people start to feel that you're not just offering a product or a service. You're offering perspective. People pay more for perspective than for information. So how do you position yourself as someone whose time, presence, and solutions are worth 10x, 20x, even 50x more than average? Start by narrowing your focus. Generalists are easy to overlook. Specialists are impossible to ignore. Ask yourself, what do I see that others don't? What do I believe about this topic that challenges the mainstream narrative? What experience have I lived through that gives me a unique lens? The answers to these questions become your positioning power. When you speak from that place, people don't just see a business or a professional, they see a leader. Bob Proctor taught that your environment should never be the determining factor of your income, your imagination should. He often reminded us that your results are an expression of your level of awareness. So what's your awareness of your own voice, your own lane, your own magic? Because that awareness is what gives you the courage to stand in the marketplace and say, I'm not for everyone, but I am exactly what someone has been looking for. That level of clarity creates demand, and demand drives compensation. Finally, we arrive at the third piece, relentless personal growth. This is where most people fade. They have the intention, they have the idea, they might even have some traction, but they plateau. Why? Because they stop growing faster than the problems they're solving. Here's the truth. The higher your income, the higher the level of complexity you must be able to hold. You're not just being paid to complete tasks, you're being paid to handle pressure, to navigate uncertainty, to create order where others see chaos. That kind of capability is not built casually. It's built through daily choices, reading what others won't read, practicing what others ignore, thinking about problems that others avoid, facing your fears while others numb theirs. Bob Proctor once said, discipline is giving yourself a command and following it. It's not about restriction. It's about liberation. Because the more self-discipline you develop, the more freedom you unlock, financial, emotional, spiritual. If you want to live a life where your yearly income becomes your monthly reality, you must outgrow your current version daily. You can't become someone new by holding on to old habits, old routines, old social circles that don't stretch you. You must decide over and over again to become the kind of person who lives in full integrity with their future. Not just by dreaming, but by doing, by waking up every day and asking, what would the seven-figure version of me do right now? Would they sleep in or get up early? Would they react or respond? Would they chase or attract? Would they consume content or create it? These micro decisions compound. Over time, they create a person who doesn't just earn more, but who is worthy of more energetically, mentally, and practically. So let's bring all this together. You don't raise your income by accident. You raise it by design, by becoming deeply self-aware, by releasing old programming, by doubling down on your value, by positioning your uniqueness clearly, and by expanding your capacity to lead, serve, and grow. This isn't magic, but it is magnetic. Because when you step into alignment with who you truly are without apologetica, law of compensation has no choice but to respond. It's universal. It's impersonal. It's precise. You're always being paid exactly what you believe and demonstrate your worth. There comes a moment when you stop absorbing knowledge and start embodying it, when you no longer seek permission to be extraordinary, but instead take responsibility for becoming who you were always meant to be. That's the moment when everything changes. Not because the world becomes easier, but because you become unshakable. And that's the exact point where the law of compensation starts working for you, not against you. Let's be clear. The world isn't withholding anything from you. It's responding to you precisely, consistently, without emotion or opinion. As Bob Proctor put it, you don't get rich by doing certain things. You get rich by doing things in a certain way. And that certain way is not about hustle. It's about alignment. It's about knowing without a shadow of a doubt that you are capable of creating massive impact and being willing to step into that power unapologetically. So let me ask you directly, are you ready to become the kind of person whose presence alone communicates value? The kind of person who doesn't need to explain their worth because it's felt, the kind of person who builds systems that generate wealth ethically, sustainably, and abundantly. Because that's what it takes to move from yearly income to monthly income. Not just a change in behavior, but a total upgrade in identity, frequency, and output. And yet, this journey won't always feel easy. It will challenge everything you've ever believed about security, comfort, and success. It will ask you to walk away from familiar versions of yourself, familiar habits, even familiar people who unconsciously reinforce your limitations. But it will also gift you something rare. Freedom, not just financial freedom, but mental freedom, creative freedom, emotional freedom, the freedom to wake up every day and know that you're building something on your own terms, at your own pace, with your own values intact. That is the ultimate compensation. And here's the part most people miss. The law of compensation isn't just a financial law. It's a spiritual law. It's about energetic exchange. It's about living in such alignment with your truth that abundance flows to you naturally, because you've become a source of expansion for others. You see, the person who earns $20,000 a year and the person who earns $20,000 a week are not different in potential. They're different in awareness, different in self-image, different in willingness to grow beyond fear. As Bob Proctor famously taught, fear and faith both demand you believe in something you cannot see. You choose. So what are you choosing right now? Are you choosing to stay small because it feels safe? Or are you choosing to expand, even if it's uncomfortable, because that discomfort is sacred? It means you're moving beyond what you've known. It means you're stretching your nervous system to hold more power, more responsibility, more wealth, more purpose. And when you stretch that container consistently, when you make it your new normal, the universe responds not with hesitation, but with abundance. Because here's the truth. Money flows to those who create flow for others. It moves toward clarity, certainty, leadership, and service. So ask yourself, are you showing up as a lighthouse or a flickering bulb? Are you leading with conviction or hoping to be chosen? Are you building systems or chasing scraps? These aren't just business questions. They're identity questions. They determine how the world sees you and, more importantly, how you see yourself. Bob Proctor often emphasized repetition because repetition is the mother of learning. But let's take that further. Petition is also the mother of embodiment. When you do something long enough, it stops being a strategy and becomes part of who you are. So, what are you repeating? Complaints, excuses, delays, or discipline, boldness, high standards? Because whatever you repeat becomes your frequency, and your frequency determines your compensation. And now, here's where it all comes together. If you want to live in a reality where your yearly income becomes your monthly income, you must commit fully, fiercely, and without delight or doing three things. Think at a higher level. Refuse to engage in scarcity thinking. Become aware of every small, limiting belief that whispers this is too much for you and replace it with I was made for this. Serve at a higher level. Don't aim to make money. Aim to create undeniable value. Aim to transform lives. Aim to be the best at what you do, not because you want validation, but because excellence is your standard. Lead at a higher level. Be the person who walks into a room and changes the temperature, who owns their space, who leads with integrity, clarity, and vision, because leadership attracts wealth like gravity. And this isn't something to start someday. The law of compensation isn't waiting. It's always active. Right now, it's calculating, it's responding to the energy you're broadcasting, the value you're offering, the courage you're showing. So here's your decision point. Will you continue playing the game at the level you've always known? Or will you step into a new reality where you create wealth with intention, precision, and deep alignment? Because no one is coming to rescue you. But you can rescue yourself from old paradigms, old fears, old limitations. You can become the kind of person who changes the financial trajectory of your entire lineage, the kind of person whose mere example becomes a catalyst for others to rise. And when that happens, your income becomes inevitable. So what now? It's time to draw a line in the sand, to declare right here and now, I no longer operate at the level of effort. I operate at the level of value. I no longer wait for compensation I command it by becoming worthy of it. I no longer hope for transformation, I embody it. If this message resonated with you, don't let it end as just another inspiring moment. Take action. Start with one bold move today that reflects the income level you're stepping into. One email, one video, one offer, one decision. And if you're serious about surrounding yourself with people who think and live this way, subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications, and join a community that's not playing small. because the law of compensation doesn't slow down. And neither should you. If you're ready to become the person who earns monthly what you used to earn yearly, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment with the phrase, "I create value and I attract abundance." And share this video with someone who needs to hear it. This is more than content, it's a call to riot.